What up, my freaks? Ruinous Insight here with part 30 of my Total War Warhammer 3 Skulltaker Immortal Empires campaign. So as we saw last time, Kuchar took on Orion and Ariel, slaying both gods/avatars on the field, and doing so without taking a massive amount of damage either, so good job to him. I mean, Kuchar does hit pretty hard at 909 weapon strength, discounting his, discounting the bonuses he gets when he activates his abilities, so pretty darn solid. He's got a few more wood elves to hunt, and he'll be moving on towards Bretonnia proper shortly, though by the looks of it, the shield of civilization has pretty much fallen. Bretonnia is in shambles and has lost many armies. Well, the wood elves aren't really part of it, but Athalorn has been destroyed and cornified. The heart of the empire has been cut out, and I suppose Kislev does remain, but at the same time they're too weak to pose any kind of threat to us, so we're just kind of screwing around. Speaking of screwing around, we're looking to attack the Black Pyramid of Nagash not this very turn, but as soon as we end the turn, which I think should be any second now. Let's go for Monuments of Rage here. Outpost available, upgrade available, sure. Khorne colony and cult upgrade available, we don't care about that, and that looks like an end turn to me. So let's see if three armies decide to attack Skulltaker here. King Lysimades and... ooh... well, that's not great. After that Tamarkan battle. Well, this is what I was worried about last episode, that that a full stack would come out from the Fog of War and attack Arbal, considering we auto-resolve that battle and most of his army is heavily damaged. And I suppose there's not much we can do about it. So, let us do this, let us do this, let us do this, and let's hope that we can survive this. I'm gonna try to knock out that Soul Grinder as fast as possible. Maybe use Arbal to the best of our abilities. We do have Mournhowl and Khazak the Befouled here as well, both of which are very solid single entity killers, so I'm gonna hope that Arbal can defeat them before they do too much damage to the rest of these guys. It's gonna be close. Damn Tamarkan. Alright, looks like Arbal does have enough mass to at least push through some Marauders, so good for him. Anyway, here we go. Our army's at like 10% of its HP. All of our Chosen are down to what, 15, 16 units pretty much? Yeah, I am gonna say that there's about 100% chance that we're gonna have some losses here, so strap yourselves in, I guess. To minimize those losses as best we can, we send Arbal forward by himself, not to duel the enemy lord, but to knock out that Soul Grinder of Nurgle in a nice little duel. We also have the recently used Summon from Beyond ability, which we will use to help Arbal out for a little bit. Looks like the enemy Skinwolves attempt to flank us, but fortunately the Fleshhounds and the Knights of the Brazen Throne are both here waiting, and will overrun and obliterate the Skinwolves very quickly, especially as these are the unarmored Skinwolves and fairly vulnerable. Looks like Arbal has nearly destroyed that enemy's Soul Grinder, which is a big boon to our chances of actually pulling this off. Damn me for doing that auto-resolve. There we go. And I guess we'll stick around and try to destroy this unit of plague drones as well. In the meantime, the enemy army is heading towards our own army, and our own army is pretty much blobbed up as much as it can. With the units sort of interspersed among each other, there's hopefully less of a chance of a single individual unit, or a single unit being kind of focused down and destroyed due to heavy damage. It does make the battle really hectic and kind of difficult to tell what's going on, but suffice it to say we have a small blob of units that remain alive, and well, we hope to keep them so. Looks like our Soul Grinder is, by the looks of it, probably going to be the one to go here, 300 HP remaining, and very heavily damaged, surrounded as it is by the Plague Toads. Here we're going to try to book it on out of there back into the center of our formation, where it won't get so surrounded. surrounded. But surrounded we very much are, and our units are dropping in the center of all this. We also have Khazak the Befouled somewhere in here. That's Mournhowl and Khazak, he's in there somewhere. They're obviously getting kills as well. Some of the enemy units are rallying and coming back, and interestingly enough, the Plague Drones managed to survive against both the spawn of Khorne and the summoned Bloodletters, so frankly, kind of impressed by that. Arbal has returned. He has suffered some damage from doing stuff and is now chasing after the enemy lord, who appears to not really want to fight him directly, but, you know, that does make sense. Now, since our infantry are having trouble, we've had to move the Knights of the Brazen Throne into the melee fight as well. Obviously, they are not supposed to be here, and the armor piercing of the enemy's great weapons is going to be significant, or a significant issue for them to deal with. However, they add a lot of mass to our formation, which we really need, as we are very much in getting overrun here. Looks like the Husk Chuckers here down to 281 HP. Gonna try to book them on out of there before they get destroyed. The enemy lord and, well, mostly the enemy heroes in here are causing quite the issue. Fortunately, we do have another of our Gates of Khorne active, and so we'll get another blob of Bloodletters in the midst of our formation to hopefully take a few hits for the rest of our heavily damaged units. Somehow the Soul Grinder is still alive, 159 HP remaining. Enemy reinforcements coming in as well. Not many of them, mind you, but still coming in, and the Soul Grinder will try to move away in the same vein as the Skull Cannon did. Hold the line. Khorne does love a hopeless fight, and well, throughout this entire battle, this fight has looked pretty hopeless, but we're still holding on. A second Gate of Khorne opens as we use the Gate of Khorne ability on our Blood Speaker, or our Cultist. And Arbal activates another summoning of Chaos Spawn. Granted, these units will all disappear shortly because they have limited time on the field, but that's 3 extra units to take hits from all the enemies. And it does look like at least some of our Chaos Spawn are still in there. There's Khazak the Befouled, who I see somebody melting away, but not one of ours, fortunately. Alright, how are we looking here? Bounce of Power still in the enemy's favor. These guys can at least provide range support. I guess that's one of the nice things about the hybrid units that we have. If they can fight in melee and then go into range support, we don't necessarily have to use them as range units and then as melee units. Can do the opposite. Also, obviously, open the Greater Gate of Khorne to summon the Bloodthirster on the field. And it looks like the Bounce of Power has suddenly, very suddenly, and very rapidly shifted in our favor. And it looks like with that, the enemy army will very, very suddenly break. And there are, of course, a few enemy units to kill off, but by the looks of it, we managed to live another day. And one really great thing about the Soul Grinders of Khorne is that they can use their precursor weapons as they move, which means they're fairly good at chasing larger units. They're fast, 61 speed even with wounds and exhaustion. And hopefully they'll be able to help chase the enemies down, because, well, there are a lot of enemies that we need to chase down here, or else they'll simply attack us again and destroy us. Hopefully this Soul Grinder with 130 HP doesn't melt away, or the Skull Cannon doesn't. I'm not sure whether we lost any troops. Let's find out if we did. Man, that was risky. Ooh, there we go. Lost a third of our number, but all of our units somehow survived, including the Soul Grinder, just barely. Granted, probably wouldn't have mattered all that much in the sense that the Soul Grinders and the Skull Cannons and stuff aren't supposed to be in this army, technically speaking, but it's the principle of the thing. Plus, it was a really, really fun fight. Great job to Arbal, getting 25k damage. He doesn't hit quite as hard as a Skulltaker does, so he's a little bit slower at A, catching enemies, and B, sort of defeating single entities, but at the same time, he also doesn't get trapped nearly as much as Skulltaker does, so there is that. He does have his explosion ability, after all. Anyway, the Maggot host has failed. We'll devour the captives, and I assume they'll back off rather than besiege. What is this? Oh, Right, we wanted to land and attack Kairos. I don't think the Scarlet Feasters are going to be able to pull this off. All they can do is hope to do some damage. I mean, there's a lot of pink and blue horrors in here, but unfortunately with Kairos here and the Severed Claw Aspiring Champions, there's probably no way that we can kill this army. That said, if we do sufficient damage to it, the other armies will hopefully be able to knock Kairos out for good. So we'll still fight this to the death. Alright, here we go, last stand of this little army. Obviously, the enemy is too numerous for us to win this, especially with the reinforcements coming in on the field, as we won't be able to reach the enemy before the reinforcements arrive. So the goal here is just going to be to try to banish as many of the enemy army as possible, do as much damage before our army melts away. Looks like the enemy has sent forth its furies, and they're all going to go after our lord for some reason. Kind of an interesting choice. They're going to blob up around the lord here. Huh. Do the Furies not make noise when they attack? We can hear our own units attacking, but the Furies are... Huh. Weird. No, I guess I can hear them a little bit. Alright, anyway. I guess they're just quieter than our units, and it'll be the silence of the grave relatively shortly, or the signs of non-existence as they melt away rather quickly. Perhaps that was supposed to be a distraction, as Kairos will activate a vortex very, very close to our units, but we should be able to back off rather than get hit by it. Out here, we have opened our Summon from Beyond gate ability, and, well, annoyed some of the enemies a little bit, but mostly just distracted them. Looks like they get focused down very quickly, and within seconds of summoning get mobbed and obliterated by range. Our Flesh Hounds as well as our Blood Crushers have moved on in as well and are trying to charge through the enemy formations of blue and pink horrors, but there are just too darn many of them for this to make too much of a difference, in the sense that we really can only stop about half or maybe a third of the enemy army from firing, and even that probably not for long. Flesh Hounds begin melting away. Pink horrors can still fight the Flesh Hounds in direct combat. Blue horrors might be a little bit too weak, but overall, we can't stay stuck into the battle too long, and the rest of the enemy, of course, are still very much firing. Out here, we have our Bloodthirster attempting to chase Kairos around, Kairos being relatively weak in melee, and hopefully we can get a few hits in, but it does look like Kairos is attempting to escape. A nice little clash here. Would have been nice to see Scarbrand face off against Kairos, but I don't think that's going to happen, as we're just not going to be able to reach him. There we go, and ooh, it looks like the enemy range and Kairos alike are attempting to focus down the Blood Shrine, which is actually a very good move considering the amount of damage and the Blood Shrines are able to deal. I might have been able to... Well, I was about to say, maybe we should have tried to back off here into the trees more to protect ourselves from the range fire, but there's just too much range fire either way, too many units, and we would probably not have been able to get through all this anyway. Maybe. Nonetheless, we are doing decent amounts of damage, especially on the flank where the Flesh Hounds and the Blood Crushers are. Unfortunately, the Blood Crushers are only being kept alive by the Relentless Rage, focused as they are by so many units, and as soon as the Relentless Rage goes, so will they, as they're down to like 15% of their HP. And that'll probably force them into banishment. There they go, Relentless Rage stops, and then all of the Blood Crushers melt away at the same time. Some Bloodletters remain on the field. I believe this is another Gate of Khorne, but they immediately get surrounded by whatever remains here, as it looks like we are starting to run out of units. Gonna send in our Exalted Bloodletters, which were up until now fighting in the trees. And they're going to try their best to try and banish as many of the pink horrors and, well, really anything that they can reach as fast as they can. Our Bloodthirster's still trying to reach Kairos, but unfortunately Kairos still has his barrier, and it's probably not going to happen. The Knights of the Severed Claw, the enemy aspiring champions of Tzeentch, are also in here somewhere, but we're completely ignoring them. There's really no point in even trying them, as they're way too tanky for us to do anything about. Maybe a couple of units of Bloodletters or Exalted Bloodletters and the Bloodthirster together together, attacking them at the same time, would have destroyed them over time. But considering the enemy outnumbers us considerably, we just don't have the time or the sort of unit resources to deal with that right now. Better to banish as many as we can instead, which we are working on. At the very least, the blue horrors fall to the bloodletters very rapidly. Still chasing Kairos around, and ooh, it looks like the Bloodthirster has at last caught him with a little bit of help from the Chaos Spawn. Maybe we can bring him down. Let's see what we got here. He's down to by about 60% of his HP, but the balance of power is about 80% in the enemy's favor now. Not many of our bloodletters now remain, as they are overrun by horrors, pink and blue and exalted alike, and I guess chromatic aberrations as well, if you count them. Trying to do as much as we can with the Blood Shrines. The Blood Shrines, despite being focused down by the enemy, are still relatively okay. Well, one of them is relatively okay, the other one is melting away. This was the one that was being focused down, but this one's completely fine. Maybe should have backed that one off a little bit more, but I think Kairos would have just chased it around. I wonder if the explosion of the motorcycle does anything to damage units near it. I don't think so, because we know that steam tanks have that explosion ability when they, or some of them when they explode, well, when they actually explode to damage the units. Is it only the special steam tanks? I don't remember. But anyway, if you need a particular ability to do that, I imagine that if you don't have that ability, you don't as a unit. Anyway. Kairos, let's see what you're looking at now. About 40% of his HP. The Bloodthirster is still fighting, with the Chaos Spawn are pretty much gone, and the Severed Claw and the Weird Spawn alike have surrounded the Bloodthirster. Very, very close on Kairos. I might have committed more forces to try to bring him down in the same sense as the Aspiring Champions, but he was flitting around and we didn't really have an easy way to bring him down. Either way, a very nice fight for the Bloodthirster. We expected these guys to fail, and we certainly depleted the enemy numbers pretty significantly. I mean, this is all that's left of a stack and a half, and might even be able to knock out a couple more if our Blood Shrine remains in the fight for a few more seconds. Gotta love these Blood Shrines. But we didn't have any skull cannons here. Let's see. Blood Shrine still about 70% HP. The bounce power shifts to 100% in the enemy's favor. The Bloodthirster is unfortunately banished, and Kairos does survive the battle with 20% HP. With the Bloodthirster gone, the Blood Shrines will begin to will begin to melt away as well, while under fire from the remaining range forces. Yeah, but really not nearly as many left. Interesting. Would have loved to fight this again. I feel like using this cliffside and the trees here a little bit more might have allowed us to destroy the enemy. Could have probably pulled off some shenanigans with some of the terrain, but I don't know if that bleeds into being obnoxious territory, as the AI is kind of bad at dealing with certain types of terrain, and impassable terrain in particular, as it does have a tendency to blob itself up. Then there's these guys. Anyway. Alright, you know, that was actually really, really close. I kind of made a mistake in actually fighting Kairos' force with the settlement garrison being allowed to reinforce. What I should have done was retreated the Scarlet Feasters and allowed Kairos' main army to attack, and if he hadn't had the extra 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 units, he would have lost that. He definitely would have. Frankly, if we had pulled some shenanigans with the terrain, we probably could have won this even here. I didn't expect it to be as close as it was, or at the very least, it would have been dependent on whether we could shatter the Severed Claw by destroying the rest of the army. It would have been decided by that, because if we didn't have enough units left and the Severed Claw remained on the field, then we would have had no way to destroy them with what we had here. So it would have been down to that, but we could have destroyed potentially everything else. Though, to be fair, at the same time, we did come close to it, and we fought the good fight. Alright, and neither of those fights, though both were quite interesting. We're still getting some really great fights at the end of this campaign. Who are you and what do you want? Oh, right, okay. It was just the Cathian territory that we were never intent on holding. Yeah, those fights, great fights, interesting fights, but not the fights that we were looking for here. We are still looking to get attacked by the Sentinels out of the Black Pyramid of Nagash, so... let's see if that happens. What the heck is this? Why is everybody attacking us there? Oh, wow. Okay, well, I'm not going to bother fighting that. And I won't make the same mistake, and I'm going to retreat you, and we'll see if they they don't follow that time. I guess they were at the edge of their range. Quite interesting. Where did the Empire get that many units? Okay, and that was probably near Nuln. Because we know that there was a full stack over there, and I guess there were a couple more. Ah, there it is. Pyrrhic victory for Skulltaker. We'll see about that. That's a lot of Tomb Kings. Should be a damn fun fight. Go.
Skulls and blood! Blood and skulls!
Alrighty, here we go, a proper stack of Tomb Kings to last. I mean, they could use some more constructs, but they do have some here and plenty more coming in from the reinforcements. That said, the reinforcements are coming in on the other side of the map, which may work in our favor as we're going to bum rush the big ol' enemy battle line, as I expect that we should be able to cut through the enemy Tomb Guard and skeleton warriors with our superior melee quite quickly, but we shall see. And we're going to start the day by charging in with our blood crushers. I was hoping that they could use their mass to simply break through the skeleton warriors, but it looks like they just don't have it in order to get to the screaming skull catapults instead. Not a big deal. What if the Chaos Knights with Lances might have been able to do that? But anyway, not a big deal. The rest of our army is here, and it's time to hack and slash our way through the enemy ranks. The enemy lord has been found, and by the looks of it, has been executed by Skulltaker rather quickly. Chariot is a very, very bad idea when you're facing off against a single entity duelist like this, especially as you can't really run very well, and you're a big old target as well. And there we go, until the enemy reinforcements arrive. Now it's just a good old-fashioned slugging it out between all the piles of infantry everywhere. Going to try to tie up the enemy Ushabti as well, specifically the range Ushabti. But generally speaking, we should have the advantage against this army. Just a matter of time until the enemy's reinforcements get here, though, so hopefully we can cut these guys down before the enemies all hit us in the back, as the entire back line of ours is exposed. We've also suffered some damage on some units. The Hellforged host here has dropped down to about 50% of its HP, as it was under fire from the enemy's skull cannons, and is damaged because of it. Looks like the Exalted Bloodletters have absolutely no trouble dealing with enemy Tomb Guard, and by the looks of it, this first army, or these first two armies, are beginning to melt away. They had, I think, 3 units of Ushabti. I don't remember whether that was including the summoned units or not, but it looks like they're falling quite rapidly as well. Ushabti is certainly decent at anti-infantry work, but the armor piercing of the Exalted Bloodletters and general buffs that we have on them mean that it just won't be enough. Still a big old blob on the left flank. Our battle line was much smaller than the enemies, and so there's still fighting going on both flanks, simply due to the fact that the enemy's line was much wider than ours was, despite being in 2 ranks, essentially. But it'll be no ranks soon enough. Looks like the enemy Ushabti are being annoying. They're firing at the blood drankers here and then just back away rather than continuing the fight. In the meantime, the enemy lord has arrived, and the Skulltaker. I keep wanting to say Skulltaper. He just tapes skulls. That's what the Skull Cloak really is. He just tapes a bunch of skulls together. Anyway, is facing off against the enemy Tomb King on Cambrian War Sphinx. That's, I'm sure, fine, but with weakened and inevitable end on him, it's not going to help him. 55 melee defense is solid, but we're up at 144 melee attack without activating buffs on Skulltaker, so he can very well work through all that melee defense without a problem. Still always a cool thing to be fighting War Sphinxes just because they're such awesome models, though. Probably would be better on a Necrosphinx for this particular purpose, or if that was an option, but anyway. Enemy Lord is pretty much down and ready for execution, which is probably the thing, or possibly the thing, as somebody pointed out, that is causing the desyncs in this campaign. But by the looks of it, this battle is going pretty much as it should. Maybe the desync is happening, maybe it isn't, it's kind of hard to tell, to be honest. And there we go, you're not escaping, buddy. Let's get one more blow, and down goes the Tomb King and the War Sphinx, and the enemy explodes all at the same time. Very, very nice. The rest of our army has dealt with the first and second enemy armies, and will now move on towards the next. It does look like we were taking a few shots from the enemy Bone Giant, which is targeting our units, so... let's see. Okay, it's targeting the Exalted Hero of Khorne here. Missed there. We do have to be wary of it targeting our Blood Crushers, however, as it can certainly dish out plenty of damage there. Huh, you should be moving. Okay, that might be a desync. I sent these guys to surround the Bone Giant, and it looks like they're not doing it, and, well, the Bone Giant is also not firing at what it should be firing at. I suppose that there is a desync, but it's only, by the looks of it, really impacting a couple of units here, as the rest of our units are closing the distance regardless, and, well, it won't matter. Back to hacking our way through droves upon droves of Tomb Kings. You gotta love the Sentinels and the Black Pyramid of Nagash for just providing these sort of battles. It's definitely a highlight of every campaign. I try to get down here with every possible lord that I play, and just because it's so fun. Orion had the biggest sort of battles recently with this, though, because he had to fight Cetra and Khemri and then the Sentinels, and just had to fight, like, I don't know, like 6 to 10 armies of Tomb Kings in succession, which was pretty crazy. Also very fun. Anyway, we finally reached the Bone Giant, but it looks like the little tiny skeleton warriors at its feet are still allowing it to fire off at least a few shots. I'm curious how many kills it's gotten throughout this battle. 17 kills, nothing crazy. And it probably won't be adding too many more to its tally. There we go, with that the battle ends as the Bone Giant melts away. And, oh, it looks like the battle crashed just as the Bone Giant was the last thing on the field. Well, that's fine, as long as it worked out and we got to see the entire battle. Lovely. Man, do I love fighting ridiculous piles of Tomb Kings. It always brightens my day, almost as much as fighting ridiculous piles of rats or zombies. Anyway, close victory. We did take damage. I wouldn't call it a close victory by any means. I mean, not compared to some battles we've had before. Certainly nothing compared to the kind of battle we fought against Tamarkand, but obviously that wasn't with Skulltaker. Anyway, in terms of kill count and damage count, at 33k damage and 390 kills, Uzul's Executioners live up to their name. Close on their heels at 362 and 28k, the Blades of Cinder as well. Very nice. Very nice indeed. We got, well, it doesn't really matter what kind of resources we got at this stage. We're gonna occupy the place, and we should have gotten the Snorkel Weirdy. No, we should have gotten the landmark, unless it was destroyed, because if we have bad luck, it was. Killed in battle, the Scarlet Feasters. Oh, right. It's fine. Enchanted Shield, Standard of Discipline, Settlement Lost. That's fine. That's in Cathay, Confederation Clan Angren and Carrick Hearn. Crooked Moon and Drippin' Fangs. Okay, well, good for them. Great Mortis Delta secured. The Sentinel is destroyed. Lovely. Where be ye? Ah, there's Gorbat. Alright. Ooh, hello. Looks like he has a decent army. We can't teleport to him, but hopefully we could just run him down. We gotta wait for 3 turns anyway. And yes, we did get to keep the Vault of Nagash. Hero Recruit Rank +3. Lord Recruit Rank +3. Kinda doesn't matter. Winds of Magic Reserve also... Well, okay, this stuff sort of matters, but we've got most of our lords up and running right now. Spell resistant +10, though. That will take. We'll want to defend it, so we'll build the Demonic Lurkers and the Trophy Rex and the Juggerplex, because it's already basically built. Anything else? Might as well build another forge. Can't have too many cultists after all. And actually, speaking of cultists, we got a Maimer Blood Reaper. Let's get you up and running here. Like so. What do you have? Sword of Strife and Armor of Silvered Steel. Alright, let's give you Sword of Strife and Armor of Silvered Steel, just so I don't forget about you. Okay, good luck finding it, Ruinous. Okay, I'm gonna give you a Armor of Silvered Steel. I'm not gonna bother with the weapon at least right now, I'm too lazy. What we would like to do is this. Bothvar Slaughterborg. And these guys are going to Skulltaker's army, so you, Orcathal, are going to move. Would it be faster to go like this? Oh, what if there's a dwarf army there? I guess it would be faster to go through Agrul Migdal. Let's go like this. Alrighty, and then we will send you... Oh, for the love of... What is this? Well, that's not good.
You're not right, Dad.
Well, on the other hand, these guys might be able to kill them. Let's go Dominating Presence, rather. And let's go for... Savage Bloodlust to power up slightly the 2 units of Blood Crusher. It's not like we're keeping Mr. Burning Body, which is completely useless. Garbage trait. Anyway, Bothvar Slaughterborg. It's time for you to do...
Will, come on.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Bloodthirsters for... Actually, everybody needs Bloodthirsters. We need a lot of Bloodthirsters. Okay, wait. Let me just see here. First of all, Half-Deer Nightbane, you're ready to set sail, so grab the Wrathmongers. One thing I kind of am meh about in terms of the Wrathmongers, and by meh I mean... I don't know what I mean. Basically, they make Chosen with Twin Axes obsolete, don't they? What's the point of ever getting Chosen with Twin Axes when you can get Wrathmongers? Frankly, Wrathmongers and Skull Reapers feel like they make Chosen and... Chaos Warriors in general obsolete, at least in campaign, when their armor can get up there. Because they kill faster, and they have tons of armor piercing, which is all fantastic. They're also, when under the command of a Bloodspeaker, much, much cheaper in terms of being in the army. And last but not least, most importantly perhaps, one of the best stats, if not the best stat, is speed. And they got 53 speed compared to the 32 of the Chosen, which is just such a huge, huge difference. The big weakness of Chaos Infantry, at least Mortal Chaos Infantry, is their slowness, and the Wrathmongers and Skull Reapers don't have that issue, so, yeah. Obviously, we're building them all for variety's sake, it's not really necessary. Anyway, after Nightbane, you are ready to move, so set sail, buddy. Huntsmaster Khorne, you're moving out here to join Kuchar the Blood Hunter and the Crimson Beast. I would like you, assuming that we cannot recruit... Just see here. No, I cannot. You know what? Okay, there's some admin to do, and I'll figure it out between the episodes because we're out of time anyway, and I'm going to call it here. Next time, we'll keep advancing through these territories with our piles of blood hosts. By then, Kairos will probably have recovered, but frankly, we might just use the teleportation to teleport to Kairos and then just set sail, or, you know, reeve up and down, up the coast until we get to Kugath and finish up the campaign with our final objective, so it's definitely an option. Anyway, as I said, calling it here, more Skulltaker to come, at least for a little while. Stay tuned, don't forget to leave those likes and comments below. All glory to the algorithm, and thanks for watching.